There is a man who lived over 2 centuries ago. He never held a sword. He never commanded an army. And yet, the wisdom he left behind has outlasted empires, outlasted kings, and outlasted every trend the modern world has ever seen. That man was Benjamin Franklin. And today, we return to his most powerful words that don't just sound good, they cut deep. They challenge you. They correct you. They quietly transform the way you see yourself and the world around you. So sit with these. Let them land. Because some of these truths you already know, you've just been ignoring them. Franklin once said, "Avoid the company of liars." But if you cannot avoid them, then at least make the decision never to believe them. This is not cruelty. This is self-preservation. The people who lie to you casually are the same people who will betray you without hesitation when the stakes are high. Protect your mind from contaminated information. Your decisions are only as good as the truth you're standing on. He also said something that very few people in the self-improvement world ever talk about. Before you try to improve the world, look around your own home 3 times. 3 times. Not once. Not twice. 3 times. Because it is so easy to have opinions about global problems and society's failures while your own relationships are broken, your own finances are in chaos, and your own character is undisciplined. Wisdom begins at home. Leadership begins at home. Fix what's yours before you try to fix what belongs to everyone. Learning, Franklin told us, is a treasure that will follow its owner everywhere. Not money, not property, not status. Learning, because money can be taken from you, property can burn, status can collapse overnight. But what you have genuinely learned, what has entered your mind and changed the way you think, that cannot be stolen. It moves with you across every border, every crisis, every failure. The most portable wealth in existence is a well-trained mind. Now here is something that will save you real money in life. Guessing is cheap, but guessing wrong is expensive. How many decisions have people made based on assumption, based on what they thought they knew, based on what felt right in the moment? And how much have those assumptions cost them in time, in money, in relationships, in opportunities lost forever? The price of ignorance is not paid all at once. It's paid slowly, quietly, in installments, until one day you look back and wonder where everything went. Franklin said something that may sound harsh to modern ears, but stay with it. If you want your children to have a peaceful life, let them suffer a little hunger and let them suffer a little cold. He was not advocating cruelty. He was advocating preparation. A child who has never faced discomfort becomes an adult who collapses at the first sign of hardship. A child who has been sheltered from every difficulty becomes a person who cannot solve problems, cannot endure pressure, and cannot handle the weight of real life. The greatest gift you can give the next generation is not comfort. It is resilience. Get together like brothers, he said, but work together like strangers. This is perhaps one of the most practical pieces of business advice ever spoken. When you are with family, with close friends, with the people you love, love them fully. Be warm. Be generous. Be present. But when it is time to work, when it is time to exchange money, when it is time to make agreements, be clear. Be precise. Put it in writing. Because more friendships have been destroyed by vague arrangements than by any argument or betrayal. Franklin called lack of intelligence the greatest poverty. Think about that carefully. Because we live in a world obsessed with financial poverty, with material poverty, and those are real and they matter. But there is a poverty that goes even deeper. The poverty of a mind that cannot reason clearly. The poverty of a person who cannot distinguish truth from manipulation. The poverty of someone who has all the resources in the world but none of the wisdom to use them. Intelligence, genuine, cultivated, honest intelligence, is the cure for almost every other form of poverty. The wisest person, Franklin said, is the one who can forgive, not the one who never makes enemies, not the one who never gets hurt. The one who, after being hurt, after being wronged, after being betrayed, chooses to release the weight of it. Because unforgiveness is not a punishment you give to someone else. It is a prison you build for yourself, and you are the one who sits inside it every single day while the person who wronged you goes on living freely. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. This is not just a clever saying, it is a law of personal responsibility. The world is full of people who will take advantage of your trust. That is a fact of life. The first time you could not have known. The first time you were simply being human, open, trusting, good-natured. But the second time is a choice. Learn from the first, adjust, grow, and never hand the same person the same weapon twice. A closed mind, Franklin warned, is like a closed book, just a block of wood. It looks like a book. It takes up the same space. It sits on the same shelf. But it gives nothing. It offers nothing. It adds nothing to the room. There are people walking around in this world who look educated, who speak with authority, who are surrounded by information, but whose minds are completely closed to any idea that challenges what they already believe. That is not intelligence. That is just arrogance with a degree. The best answer, he said, comes from the person who is not angry. And this is something every single one of us must tattoo somewhere on our minds. When you are angry, your mouth is faster than your brain. When you are angry, you say things designed to wound rather than things designed to solve. The most powerful position in any conflict is not the loudest voice. It is the calmest voice. The person who can stay composed while everyone else is burning is the person who controls the outcome. He also said, "A smile will gain you 10 more years of life." This is not poetry. Science has caught up with Franklin on this one. Genuine positive emotion, genuine human warmth, genuine connection. These things have measurable physical effects on the human body. The people who move through life with openness, with lightness, with the capacity to smile even at difficulty, they carry less stress, they recover faster, and they live longer. Bitterness is not just an emotional state. It is a physical condition, and it costs you years. A little impatience, Franklin warned, will spoil great plans. Great things do not move fast. Great things require seasons. They require waiting when every instinct in you is screaming to act, to push, to force the outcome. The person who can hold their course through the slow periods, who can stay committed when progress is invisible, who can resist the urge to abandon what they've built because results haven't arrived on their schedule, that person wins. Not the most talented, not the most connected, the most patient. Avoid things that will require an apology. This is so simple it almost sounds too simple, but run your life by this rule for 30 days and watch how many situations you simply never enter. Watch how many words you never say. Watch how many decisions you never make. Because most regret is not sudden, it is a product of a moment where you had a choice and you chose the easier, more reckless, more impulsive option. Think before, always, not after. You will know your friend in time of need, not in time of celebration, not in time of success, not when the money is flowing and the table is full and the music is playing. In time of need, when things fall apart, when you are at your lowest, when you have nothing to offer back. That is when the real ones stay. That is when the real ones call. That is when the real ones show up without being asked. Watch carefully. Life will show you exactly who belongs in your circle. Franklin said, "If speaking is of silver, then silence is of gold." In an era where everyone has a platform, where everyone is talking, where every opinion is published and broadcast and amplified, silence has become one of the rarest and most powerful things a person can practice. Not every thought needs to be expressed. Not every battle needs to be fought. Not every insult needs a response. The person who can be silent when others expect noise holds a kind of power that most people will never understand. An inch of time, he said, is an inch of gold. But you cannot buy that inch of time back with an inch of gold. This is the paradox that the wealthy and the poor both eventually discover. Time is the only resource that is perfectly equal and perfectly irreversible. Every person alive gets the same 24 hours, not 1 second more, not 1 second less. and every second that passes is gone permanently. No transaction on earth, no amount of money, no level of success can purchase back a single moment that has already passed. Spend your time like you cannot afford to waste it. Because you cannot. There are two kinds of perfect people, Franklin said, those who are dead and those who have not yet been born. Everyone alive is in process. Everyone alive is imperfect, incomplete, and still becoming. The moment you stop demanding perfection from yourself as a prerequisite for action, something powerful shifts inside you. You begin, you move, you make mistakes and you learn. And slowly, imperfectly, beautifully, you become better. Anger, he said, begins with madness but ends in regret. This is the full arc of uncontrolled anger. It starts with a heat in your chest that feels like power. It feels like justice. It feels like strength. But follow it to the end and what do you find? Words you cannot take back. Relationships you cannot repair. Decisions made in fire that you now have to live with in the cold. Anger is a feeling, and like all feelings, it is information. But it should never be the driver. The richest person, Franklin said, is not the one who has the most. It is the one who needs the least. This is one of the most liberating ideas you will ever encounter. Because it means that real wealth is not a destination you reach by acquiring more. It is a state you reach by wanting less. The person who can look at what they have and feel genuinely, deeply satisfied, that person is already wealthy, regardless of what is in their bank account. Always bear in mind, Franklin said, that your own resolution to succeed is more important than any other thing. Not your circumstances, not your connections, not your education or your starting point or the luck you've had or haven't had. Your resolution. Your decision made every morning, renewed every time you face resistance, that you are going to keep going, that you are not going to quit, that you will find a way. That single internal commitment, held firmly and consistently, is worth more than every external advantage combined. Patience is a bitter plant, he reminded us, but its fruit is sweet. Nobody enjoys the waiting. Nobody enjoys the uncertainty. Nobody enjoys watching time pass while your goals still feel distant. But the fruit, the outcome, the result, the life you build through sustained effort over time is worth every difficult moment of the process. Don't abandon the plant before it bears fruit. Stay with it. Tend it. The sweetness is coming. And finally, the greatest danger for most people is not that our aim is too high and we miss it. The greatest danger is that our aim is too low and we hit it. Most people never fail because they attempted too much. They fail because they settled. They aimed for something easy, something safe, something almost guaranteed, and they hit it. And then they spend the rest of their life wondering why they feel so empty despite having achieved everything they said they wanted. Aim higher, much higher, not recklessly but honestly higher. Because a life lived at full stretch, even with its failures, is worth infinitely more than a life lived safely below your actual potential. Franklin is gone, but these words are not. They have survived centuries because they are not opinions, they are laws. Laws of human nature, laws of success, laws of character. Apply even 3 of them consistently, and your life will be different a year from now. Apply all of them and you will become someone almost unrecognizable from who you are today. That is the power of timeless wisdom. And that is the legacy of Benjamin Franklin.